Hello and welcome to Getting Cloud Right, a new video series dedicated to helping you navigate your path to cloud and IT as a service. I'm your host, Michael Krieger. At HP, we see the cloud creating a host of new opportunities for IT and business units alike. We see cloud delivering the agility and flexibility IT has always sought. We see it as a catalyst for business innovation. And with cloud, we see IT operating as a true service provider to the business. With Getting Cloud Right, we'll focus on the issues critical to your success with the cloud and with IT as a service operating models. And we'll bring you practical advice on how to get there. In our first episode, Cloud's People and Organizational Impact, we'll explore the organization and staffing implications you need to consider when moving to the cloud. And we'll demonstrate a powerful tool that helps you do just that. I'm happy to introduce our guest and cloud transformation expert, Lee Kedry, Managing Partner of Advanced Technologies at HP. Welcome, Lee.
Hi, Michael.
So, before we dig into the issue, tell me about your role at HP and why you're here today.
So I'm part of the worldwide cloud consulting team, and basically I always share with people I got the best job in HP. I get to take our advanced technologies out to those that love to adopt it early and actually help them adopt it and use it and gain benefit from it inside their organization.
So, I mean, cloud changes everything. It changes the way businesses work, the kind of applications that they have,
Yes.
the tools that they're using, where stuff is.
Yes.
As a result, the demands on IT are changing and getting greater every day. I mean,
Yes.
we see people saying, I need this now, and if IT can't deliver it, I'm going to put down a credit card and go buy it somewhere else.
Exactly.
Right? That's what the cloud means to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But one thing we're learning is to be successful with the cloud, the roles have to change. There are
Yes.
new things that people need to do. There are new ways of business being done. Is that an accurate picture? I mean, what do you see from HP's perspective?
Absolutely. This issue with businesses wanting agility and needing speed, they have for the first time in history alternatives. They have the ability to go to the Amazons, the Rackspace, the HP Cloud, and never before have they been able to circumvent IT that way. So, what we've been seeing is that for IT organizations to remain relevant, they're going to have to step up, make the necessary changes to become service-centric, or they're in danger of not being relevant.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing.
Change to become a service provider. Otherwise, business units are going to go around you, and
Exactly.
shadow IT is going to take over.
It is the new shadow IT.
Yeah.
It is.
So, how do you make that transition? I mean, it's so critical. How do you get successfully from being there to being where you are?
I think the first thing is that you need to recognize that it's just not a technology play. The technology has really evolved over the years, and we have the capabilities now to evolve or to implement the technologies. What we found over the years is that it really is about the people component, the human energy, the retooling the individuals. It's about the governance necessary to make the change. It's about a mind shift from going from this functionally organized, aligned to the technology type of IT to an IT organization that is thinking about services like people expect today with a telephone, right? They go to their phone, they download an app, they want an app. They don't want a cycle of CPU time, they don't want a bit of network, they want their functionality delivered to them.
So let's bring it back to the people. What are some of the roles that change, and what are some of the new roles that get created?
So I think the first premise, that we share with our customers is that many of the roles will remain the same, right? IT is IT is IT, but you still have the underpinned components, but you are going to have to create some new roles. So for example, in the area of automation, everybody wants to automate things. Well, there's really not an automation programmer. There's not somebody that looks at the horizontal delivery of IT.
Right.
So that's a new role that needs to be created. The whole notion of service management, it's scattered across IT today in an informal way. Well, that needs to be formalized, where there's people focused on the service the business needs, defining it, putting it in a catalog, setting it up. And so the role of service manager and all the associated parts gets elevated. Capacity manager is a big one, right? Cloud is the illusion of limitless capacity.
Right.
So the role of the capacity manager is all about delivering just in time, right? So they have a dance with finance that they never had before. They need the authority to, when they see the gauge say we're low on capacity, to be able to buy it. So when the user goes to the self-service portal, all of a sudden they get they get what they need.
So this is a complete strategic transformation of the organization.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the tool that HP has built that you use to help clients get there. So what is the tool?
Well, with all the pressure on cloud, again, I think I mentioned to you that we discovered that there was more than technology involved. So, so the tool really encompasses 6 different dimensions, which I'll explain in a little more detail later, that need to be transformed harmoniously. And then we also decided or determined that businesses needed a definition of what is an operating stage that they're comfortable with based on their culture and politics and all these types of things. Customers need choice, right? That's a whole drumbeat of HP. They need choice. So we created a model that looked at those 5 stages of operating and 6 dimensions of change. And we set it up, actually it was so good they patented it. It's a patent. There's nothing
so this
like it
is
in the
an
world.
internal tool. This isn't something customers use.
It's an internal tool.
But
right.
why do customers want to work with you for this tool? How's it used?
You know, my experience has been that customers need a change agent in transformation.
Okay.
So what they do is they come to us based on the capabilities that we have in this, the repeatable science of it, if you will. And what the tool allows us to do really is speed their success, limit their risk, and we get to function as that trusted advisor change agent to help them. You know, because we're sitting in the boardroom, they're going, why should I believe these recommendations? Well, because we can give you the history of how and why and where, and all of a sudden now the board says, well, okay, I feel good about that.
So,
there's a science behind it.
So what are the key features that the takeaways that customers are going to get from this?
Well, they're going to get an understanding of their current state that's going to be clearly documented. They're going to be able to have a clear definition of what they want to achieve as a future state. They will learn the respective projects that need to be done, a gap assessment, if you will, and the sequencing of those projects so that they can execute against them. And they'll also learn what specific functions and organizational structures they need to put in place in order to make that real.
So where they are now, where they're going to get, how they get there, and who gets them there.
Exactly.
So, so what is the main benefit to an organization from working with the tool and finding out all that stuff?
Well, you know, not to repeat it, but again, let me just say it in a simple way. I think people that have invested in help are actualizing the benefits of the cloud. There are many that have worked, they're going down the path, they false start, they bump into a wall, they don't know why. You know, what we do is take a decade of experience and put it in this tool and give them a very pragmatic map.
So is this an accelerator to the cloud for those people? It's an accelerator.
It accelerates their speed to success.
Well, let's get right into it. Why don't you take a look at some of the features of the demo and show us what it is that you got.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the Cloud Strategic Roadmap tool. There's multiple modules in the tool, as you can kind of see with the information across the top, but I'm going to just focus on the transformation planning module. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you 3 things today. I'm going to show you the current state report, which again shows where the customer is versus where they want to go. And then I'm going to show you the project report, which is a high-level view of all the projects associated with making the change.
Right.
And then, since we're talking about staff, I'm going to show you a full-time equivalent sizing report that addresses specifically the types of changes that need to be done in the organization.
Let's get right to it. What are we looking at here?
So we're looking at the window that the consultant or the staff member would use to work with the customer. This is generally done post an interview process. And let me just kind of show you the window, acquaint you with it. So as I said, there were 6 dimensions of change that need to be affected. This is what you see across the top. They're called domains. So the first is technology and infrastructure. Often this is where clients focus. It's only one domain in our model that we've learned. Okay?
That's when we were siloed. We're here's my server, here's my storage, here's my network.
Exactly. Okay. So the next is the IT management framework. This is the software oriented to controlling it, managing it, reporting it. The next is the governance and security, which is the corporate governance, you know, to oversee how it's going to be used, as well as the security, the enterprise security model, right? It's a big thing. Now, one area, we're talking about people, one entire domain dedicated to culture and staff, because it's about retooling the people, reskilling them, identifying with HR, retention policies to keep your best people, those types of things. The next is process. So this is based on ITIL v3 processes, so this is all your operational science. And then you've got your service portfolio management, which is all the self-service aspects, defining the service, publishing the service.
What people think of as cloud as services.
Exactly. So I go grab a service from the cloud.
So each of those defines basically an area in the organization, a domain within the organization.
Well, an item inside the organization that we are going to effectuate change in.
Okay.
Right? Now the next is the stage or the definition of the operating function, right? So the operating stage. So the first is siloed. So this is where most organizations are, functionally organized, very siloed. The next is, say, optimize. So a lot of companies have done this. They've done consolidation and rationalization and that type of thing, right?
Right, they've done a little bit of virtualization.
Exactly. Then the third is really the layer where we begin to start moving towards service-centric concepts, right? So this is service-enabled. And this is where we're going to focus on today. We're going to demonstrate this area today.
Okay.
And then the next is hybrid delivery. So hybrid delivery really is where a customer has established their internal services policies, but now they're branching out. They're functioning as an IT broker, and they're going out and pulling the appropriate service from the cloud purveyors, putting them into a uniform catalog and offering them up as their services.
Okay.
Differentiated services, if you will. And then the last but not least is the value-based pricing, which is really aimed at the service providers who's providing an external cloud service.
Sure.
Okay.
And these indicators then would indicate how far along each of these people are, or each of those elements are in the path to where they want to get?
Exactly. So these indices you're pointing to, that's this box here. So each of these intersecting points has 5 indices that we score.
Okay.
Okay. And the way we do that is we ask context-sensitive questions, as you see below, based on role and function. So as I'm talking to the service level manager, I ask specific questions relevant to these indices to them. Okay? And then what we do in the post-process after the interview is we basically select whether something is evident or fully evident or growing or whatever. So in this particular case, this particular stage is fully evident, which means the customer's really exceeded the necessary activities.
So based on these different domains and where they want to get, what stage they want to achieve, you have a different set of these indicators, you call them.
Yes, indices.
These indices, and by asking targeted questions to each of those different people in the organization based on those indices and what have you, you come out with a plan.
Exactly. Well, you come out with their current state.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and show you what you see. So this is the first report, which is a current state overview report. Okay. So what this is showing is based on the inputs during the interviews, you can see this particular customer here is really a traditional silo structured customer. Okay?
Right.
Actually overachieving in this area. They're very excited about these. You notice the red here? They're even doing more than they need to.
Yeah.
All right. But if we want to be at service enabled, you can see that they've got a little work in each of these areas to do.
Okay, so these numbers represent what percentage of the way they are to that particular level.
Exactly.
And so I guess the interview process doesn't matter where they want to go. You're just collecting current state.
Collecting current state.
Got it.
Right. Then as we talk to them, we determine with them where they want to be. Do they want to be at a service-enabled state? Do they want to be at a hybrid delivery state? When they say yes, we then go into the tool and generate the project roadmap.
Okay.
So that's the next thing I'd like to show you.
Well, let's take a look.
Okay. So we come in and what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and select the service enabled because that's just a great place to start. And we're going to create a roadmap. And what's going to happen here is the tool is going to pop up in Visio, and it's just going to begin to build, based on the input from their current state, a list of projects, and it's going to sequence them and have relevant dependencies and map this for them. So this is a high-level depiction of where they need to go.
So this just creates the Visio chart in Visio, and now you can drill down and understand the dependencies and what goes in.
Exactly. So let me just kind of show you this just from a high level.
Okay.
Okay. So this gives you an idea of, like, for example, these are technically oriented projects. So here's technical architectures, then you're going to move to convergent infrastructure, and maybe you're going to work on your service continuity plan, right? So these are typical kind of technical oriented dimensions. Now, where we're focusing on people dimensions, so where does that start? Well, here's one of the first inputs, right? So you're going to want to make sure that you have a formal architecture or a formal architecture office established. Then the other piece is you're going to make sure that you establish the correct governance framework in order to make those types of changes, because you can't just make those changes without senior management input and buy-in.
And these are new roles and new people in many cases.
Exactly. Well, look, there you put your ball at the net, right? So all of a sudden, reorganize technical engineering into service engineering. So this is that shift from technically oriented mindset, hero mentality, to thinking in services, right?
Oh, if it was only so simple as putting a box on it.
I know, exactly. So, and then you got this automation notion, right? So you notice that we've got people issues that we have to deal with before we automate.
Right.
And many organizations are really busy trying to automate things without having the right infrastructure in place, the right organizational structure in place. So that's just one area. And then there's one more here that just I always like to point out, because it is a people business. One of the things that we have to do is we have to create a service culture into HR. We've got to create the right retention plans. We've got to create the right skilling plans all the way across the organization to bring our best people along.
And this is so critical because so many people are afraid of what's going to happen to their jobs
Exactly.
if they go cloud.
Exactly. So now to take it to the next level, you'd asked for a drill down. So to take it to the next level, one of the other reports that we use is what we call the project brief report. And what we do here is this is going to show you a list of the projects. Don't get dizzy now. Don't try this at home. This is only for professionals. All right. Here's a summary of all the projects. So what we do is based on the sequencing that we showed you in the diagram, we list the project number, we list the name of the project, we share the phase. Here's a design phase, a build and implement phase.
Right.
But then, what customers always ask is, okay, how long? How long is it going to take? What's the effort? So we factored in, based on their current state, what the time duration would be in weeks, and then what the effort would, or this is basically calendar time, and then the human energy effort.
And again, all of this stuff is coming out automatically from the tool as a result of all the experience of the past engagements that
benchmark engagements
built in.
Exactly correct. Now, since we were talking about implementing people and services and shifting to that, I just highlighted a couple of key projects. So here's a develop your business services catalog, right? So there's a level of effort. Here's reorganize your technical staff. Here's implement your service architecture. These are key projects. Develop staff retention. These are key projects that need to be engaged immediately to begin to make the shift to service-centric delivery. So that gives you an idea. Now, just to kind of show you what a project might look like, in addition, each one of those projects has an overview. So it shows you the project name that corresponds to the code on the sheet, gives you the benefit of the project, what the objectives are, what the main deliverables are, the scope for the project, and again, duration, and then any dependencies. Okay, so we were talking here, this is INT 430, this is retool the engineers, this is a dependency, right? So, what is that? I mean, if we can find that here, INT 430. So this is the retool your engineers, right? So now we go to that project and understand what it is.
So this alone is like a 40-page, 50-page guide on how you get from where you are to where you want to go.
Exactly. This is designed, Michael, to go right into a program office.
Okay.
So you take this document right into a program office, create your program plan, your plan of record for transformation, and off you go.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah. So there's one other thing that I want to show you, since the focus is really on the full-time equivalence sizing, if you will. We also have the report on. Hold on. There it is. Okay. On the result of the transformation. In other words, what's the impact? Because one of the things with cloud is about efficiency, right? There's two sides to it, as we know. Agility to the business, which is innovation, and then the efficiency that they want to gain. So moving to a service-centric model, what we're beginning to see here is you can look at the numbers, the current state, this is the current state of headcount, and their targeted change state as they go through it. I highlighted a couple of fields here, because again, the service designer, this is a critical role, right?
So that's a new role.
That's a role that it often is there, but not formalized. So we're going to work to formalize it. But then there are two here I want you to notice. You notice I highlighted financial analyst in yellow and capacity manager in green here, because they dance together. Right. This count actually goes down a little bit for the financial analyst, but it increases in the capacity manager, because it's all about managing that illusion of limitless capacity, right? So we talk about how to make that relationship amongst those groups as we create the organizational structure.
So that's like just-in-time or thin provisioning.
Exactly correct, yeah. Okay. It very much likened unto the manufacturing story, just-in-time inventory, right? And then you can see that there's a number of roles around service level manager, right? But I want to show you the next thing that you get. We want to be able to go down to the specific roles, so you can see what the role is. So on the role of capacity manager, for example, here's a role, it's defined. You notice there's two things there that it shows. So what the tool will do is, based on the size of the organization, it will take into account all the ITIL functionality, and it will group different roles together and give, if it's a smaller organization, it'll give someone two hats.
Right, so if you need 0.4 person for one role and 0.6 person for another, it'll combine them.
Exactly correct, and that's what you're seeing.
Okay.
And then the tool will then specifically, based on the ITIL principles, give you all of the responsibilities necessary, as well as the requirements, the skill requirements. And I think what's really critical here is that we're finding that there are a lot of people inside the organizations that have a desire but they don't always have the necessary skills. So as part of your HR retention program and your training program, we want to be able to name what skills are required, assess them against the individuals, and then create a plan for people to be able to rise up in these areas of skill.
And then once again, the tool generated all of this
Yes.
based on the interviews and the input you put
Exactly.
in, and the experience of all the work you've done in the past decade.
Exactly,
to get
exactly. Yeah, and I think, when we take a step back, one of the things we're really trying to accomplish is this flip of the ratio between maintenance and innovation, right? So, through HP's transformation, for example, we shifted from what was 75% keeping the lights on
Right.
and 25% innovation. We flipped that around to where 75% of the dollar now our IT dollar goes to innovation, 25% goes to keeping the lights on.
Okay.
And that's exactly what you were seeing here, with our original list, where you can see that the organization really has got about a 30% savings, which is industry standard on a shared service delivery model. You save about 30% in operating cost, but the idea there then is you're able to focus those dollars into innovation and drive invention
Right.
and drive top line revenue for a business.
Yes.
So this is really, what the tool is designed to show, and the entire process is designed to show. And people really have a very, very important part to play in cloud. It's heavy lifting, but we can help them in a very pragmatic and simple, scientific way to get there from here.
So just to recap what the tool, what it's used for, its features, and how we can learn more about it.
So again, what its focus is to assess where a customer is currently, give them a choice as to where they want to be so that we can determine their future state. It will then define for them in GAP all of the projects that they need to do and sequence them together in an orderly way to execute them over a time horizon. And then it will also provide all of the recommendations on how to structure their organization and to retool their people to move from this functionally organized model to what would be a cloud-based service delivery model.
So what's the number one thing you think that customers get from working with you?
Michael, I think really at the end of the day, it's this notion of being a change agent. As I said, my observation in my travels is that customers that are benefiting from the cloud today have sought help. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring them a proven methodology, a patented methodology, the only one in the world. We're going to come to them with a very pragmatic way to understand their current state and to define where they want to go. We're going to give them a process that reduces their risk and speeds their success. So how could you go wrong with that, right?
Lee Kedry, thank you very much. For more information, visit hp.com/Helion. Don't miss our second video slated for November, in which we'll explore how automation can help you take those first steps from virtualized data center to offering infrastructure as a service. For updates on future episodes, please follow us on Twitter at HP Helion Cloud. For HP, I'm Michael Krieger.